Is another phenomenal podcast. It is another week. That means we have another entrepreneur. That also means we have another fantastic investment opportunity for other investors. Now, am I a promoter? No, I am an investor. Our company are investors. What we do is we find phenomenal companies that we believe are going to break through and are going to build unicorns. We then get on this podcast and we tell all you folks out there why we invest. We're not saying to invest. What we do say is look at the reasons why we invested and then look at the company yourself and say, is this a company that I feel can break through? Is Brian right or is Brian crazy? As always, I'm always happy to jump on and have a chat with anybody afterwards to go through the reasons why we think this company is so phenomenal. But before we get to that point, let me introduce Justin at Explorest, and you're going to find out why I like this one so much. Justin.
Hey everybody, Justin Myers here. I am the CEO of Explorest, which is an app that helps our global community discover and experience the world's greatest places. Happy to be here, Brian.
Totally true. And look, there's a bunch of companies we invest in because we believe the technology is breakthrough technology, that the world will need it, that blockchain is coming, that artificial intelligence is important to take over. And then there are other things which are just insanely cool. Like they're just great apps that people need. Now, if you go all the way back to the last time one of these apps came out, it was prior to TikTok, which took that same title, but back before TikTok, it was Instagram, without any question. They didn't need billions of dollars to promote the product. Like, I don't even think they spent hardly anything on advertising. Consumers just loved it, right? They understood that consumers would want to share their photographs and they would want to send those photographs around so other consumers could see them, compare them, like them, not like them, but more importantly, just be able to see a bigger, better, more beautiful and vibrant world. And TikTok then came back in afterwards, and I think did a wonderful job in taking that experience to a slightly different level, using video and everything else. And I love about Explorest is that it takes us to that same place of experience, but with the absolute unparalleled beauty of the photographs of where you go there. Now, I will tell you my story about Explorest, and I want to go into Justin. He'll talk to you a little bit more of what it was about. And actually, my story was a little bit of a nostalgia because I've traveled. Like, I love traveling. I've lived in almost 50 countries, and I mean lived. Like, what's the point in going somewhere for a week and stuff? I mean, when I go to Mexico, I'm there for a couple of years. When I go to China, I'm there for 6 months. When I go to Russia, I'm there for 6 months. I'm like, why do I go to these places? Because it's such a shame for them to exist and for us to not experience them. The world is not about working your ass off from the beginning to the end just so you can say you made it to the finish line. This world is about experiencing everything beautiful and not so beautiful that fits inside. At least that's my perspective. And I remember back in the day when I first started traveling, and I would have my Lonely Planet book with me, and it was a big dog-eared book that would have like all of the pages of all the best places. And Lonely Planet would lead this book with some epic picture of some incredible landmark, which is in the middle of Thailand, and you have to go up to Chiang Mai and like go through the jungle, and then you'll come out the other side and you will see this thing of beauty that just sits there. And like all of that journey and everything you have on the way is worth it multiplied by 1,000 when you finally reach that moment where you can look at your Chiang Mai, or you can look over the peak at Machu Picchu and this amazing image sits there in front of you. And I just haven't seen that in years. And in years, all I see is, oh, this is Travelocity. They do flights. It takes you to places. Oh, this is like a hotel. Awesome. I can stay in the friggin' Hilton Inn again. Like, oh, this is like a way and a road to get there. Well, it looks like every other freeway I've ever seen. And everything is in the written word. And I wonder, like, has nobody learned from Instagram until I saw Explorest? And I opened up the app at the beginning and I saw like the most amazing picture. And it was a picture of a waterfall and you could see through it and the rays were coming through in the waterfall and they're almost shining in your face and you realize, oh, it's not just about being in that place. It's about being in that place at the right time, in the right moment, with the right sun. And if I can make it work, it will be an experience of all experiences. So that's why I think this is going to be one of the greatest apps of the next 5 years. I see no reason why everybody in the world isn't going to use it. It is the way that we should experience experiences, which is through the most incredibly beautiful photographs that are out there. So first of all, am I describing just what I saw in it, or am I describing the reason why you created the app and what the app's all about? And maybe if you talked a bit about it too. And then I want to go to the genesis of where this all came from.
Yeah, no, Brian, thank you for sharing that passionate view about our product. And I share the absolute same passion. So, a bit of an inception story, actually. So, my business partner is a professional photographer, and we were together in Mexico at a destination wedding. I was rolling off a previous project. I co founded Vietnam's first digital bank, and that was concluding after about 4 or 5 years. And I was kicking around ideas with our group of friends in the pool, and he's like, hey, when I travel around trying to find beautiful places to take photos for my clients, I spend so much time and waste so much time trying to figure out where these great places are. And then what we quickly realized is that it resonated with really everybody in the pool, and none of us were photographers or content creators. When we're traveling around or planning a trip, we want to find beautiful places. And we realized there was no curated central way to discover where these places are, let alone the details on how to get there. And so that's why we created Explorest, and you alluded to it beforehand. When you open the app, you're met with this just incredible feed of imagery. And when you tap one of those images, you access what we call a location insight. And it includes everything you'd want to know about how best to experience that location, as well as how to create the best content there. So the exact GPS coordinates of where the photographer stood, detailed directions on how to navigate through the hiking trails to that waterfall, the best time of day to go, the best time of year to go, and field tips. So when you think about your composition with your camera or even just the mobile phone, how do you frame it? Looking for shadows, looking for sunlight. All those tips are packed into each location that we feature on Explorers.
It's like Instagram on steroids. It's what
Yes,
Instagram, when Instagram grows up and wants to be truly epic in the world, this is what Instagram would look like.
that's right. Instagram misses the reliable insight about the place, and really that's not what it's used for, right? People share the beautiful pictures, but it's not so much about the details on how to experience that place or how to take photos there. It's just sometimes even an unrelated caption. With Explorest, every image is paired with those insights that I just shared about.
And then so you had this idea. Idea makes sense. I doubt if there's a person in the world that would disagree with the moment that you were in right then, which is saying, hey, you want to see the greatest places in the world. Wouldn't it be awesome if it was easy and it was beautiful and
Right.
you could just go straight there rather than just reading a bunch of text and having to work it out yourself? So how do you actually then take that from where you had it, which was the genesis of an idea, to actually building such a beautiful app? Because anybody, for investors listening to this, open up Explorest right now in the App Store. You'll see exactly what I mean. It's gorgeous on absolutely every level.
Beautiful app indeed. You can download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store. And like any good business, it starts with just getting serious and scheduling a phone call. So from that conversation in the pool with my buddies, maybe a week went by, and I was like, hey, I really think this has some legs. Let's hop on a call to kind of discuss it. And from there came the due diligence. So everything from scouring the landscape, figuring out who's doing this right, what is it that we want to draw from that business, reading their reviews, what are they missing, what is something that we can one-up them on. So it started with that landscape analysis, and that was very, very energizing because we saw actually how many different companies attempted to do this, but just really failed in the execution. And from there came out the requirements document of really what we wanted to produce. And given my experience at the digital bank, I led product there for a handful of time. And I had some very good relationships. Our development team is actually based in Vietnam. And so I had it designed here in America, but built out in Vietnam, version 1 of Explorest. The product development is one side of it, but the content is really the heartbeat. It's everything else. And so we launched in Singapore. And to do that, I flew out there and partnered with the best 20 local Singaporean content creators that the country had.
But
And
how did you find those people? But how did you make? Let me rephrase it. How did you make those people want to care about you?
yeah, well, it's an excellent question. So, they're the ones that are constantly asked, where is this photo taken? How do I get there? How did you get that perfect shot? Their DMs are flooded with these queries from their followers and even just random people in the Instagram community all the time. Similarly, my business partner, Michael, he experienced the same thing. not only was he looking for great places, but a lot of his followers were pinging him, asking him where he's going around in San Francisco, say, for example. So the pain point just really, really resonated with really any content creator, because they're asked this question all the time. So that was step one, just getting them to feel like, oh my God, a product that solves this problem can be super awesome and helpful. Not just for my followers, but even for me. They want to use it themselves. So they were immediately sold on the idea. And at the time, we were still building, so I had no actual product for them to even play around with. The second, and this is where things get really interesting, we're really taking advantage of the growth in the creator economy, as well as the return of travel post the pandemic. And so back when we first launched in Singapore, and through till today, we have a revenue sharing program that our content creators can benefit from. So to give you context, a user can enjoy Explorest for free, or they can pay an app subscription and access the pro insights on how to take the best picture. The free experience is all around, where is this place? How do I get there? What's it all about? How do I best experience this place? But the content creation tips is what's behind the paywall. And we share that subscription revenue back to our content creators, which is another incentive for them to contribute their favorite photo locations and beautiful places alongside the tips on how to take a great photo.
And who gets to be a content creator? Who gets to be the chosen one? Obviously, you're not going to pick me because I suck. But I've told you before, my wife loves photography. So maybe she would get in. Is there a way that you can become part of the chosen few, that we can move into being influencers within the photographer community? The better we get and the more people who like our photos?
Yes, it's an excellent question, and it's one that we've gotten from our community really since inception. So to start, we took a very curated approach, working with truly the most world-renowned creatives across the world. So we partner now with over 135 across like 15 different countries. It's an incredible group, and they truly are the top of the top talent in each of their different locales. So as mentioned, when we launched in Singapore, we worked with Singaporeans. From there, we came over to California. We worked with SoCal and NorCal content creators to seed the local database. At the end of the day, it's the local expert that really, really understands the neighboring area. They're the ones that can truly give that reliable insight that we at Explorest heavily value. And so the reason you download the app and have this just incredible first impression of how beautiful the imagery is because of the highly curated experience that we put forth, especially in terms of the imagery. Now, that said, given we've got the very strong, beautiful foundation, the big next tranche of Explorers, the big next phase, is to open it up to our community. So Brian, in due course, you'll be able to contribute your own favorite places as well and your own local tips. But we do want to always protect the curated kind of pro insights. So you'll always be able to navigate if you want just to kind of filter in on those insights. But there will be an easy way for you also to see what the community at large wants to share.
And I also love how you're gamifying it. So what you're doing is you're protecting the audience to make sure they only get beautiful photographs by people who can take beautiful photographs. Because if you can't take a photo, I don't care who you are. Like, you're going to ruin the experience, and that's half the problem. Like, we want to be able to see things that are gorgeous. But I love how you are gamifying it so that other folks that are, as they're building up, like, they'll want to become influencers. There's some awesome amateur photographers who, if they go looking for those perfect photographs and that perfect photograph ends up being the ones that break through, then actually they can end up getting gigs as photographers in other places, especially as cities. Now, we'll talk about the revenue model in a little while, but especially as cities start to take you in and they start to contract you and start bringing in photographers so their city can even look more beautiful as well. So it's very smart. Everybody wins in this ecosystem that you're creating.
Yep, Brian, you're spot on. So there will be a very feasible way for the community content creators to kind of gamify and increase their level to being on the curated side of the platform. Absolutely. And you mentioned a great point around, once you kind of get to that tier, new opportunities, new doors will be unlocked in terms of the ways and opportunities to work with different brands. And so we're experiencing that now actually with Visit Qatar, whereby we've got about 10 creators scheduled to go to Qatar to create content and also support the launch of Qatar on the Explorest app. And this is all drawn from our
Wow.
pool of content creators.
Wow. And so what does that look like? You got contacted, I'm guessing, by Qatar, and they said to you, man, we've got this great, beautiful place which has got gorgeous things that could be photographed like everywhere. Put it out there, share it with the world, let everybody on the whole Explorers community see that this is the most beautiful place on the planet.
Yep, that's spot on. So they really recognized how great Explorest has been at curating beautiful places. And Qatar's not in our app right now. It's not featured. And we've already sent 4 creators there, and unbelievable. This country has some very, very special and beautiful places. And I'm personally excited to go out there and very, very amped about launching Qatar on the Explorest app. So they like immediately saw the opportunity to put their country and its beautiful imagery and places alongside that of the Pacific Northwest in California.
And what an opportunity for the photographers as well. You're saying to the photographers, forget about a paid, you didn't get paid for this, but you could get paid for something else. You get to define to the world what Qatar looks like. You get to decide what part of the sands you're going to take, which buildings you're going to take pictures of. Like, you get to position your unique Banksy feeling on what this place is. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, no, they are super, super stoked to have been going over there. And for those that weren't able to be part of this particular campaign, there was a lot of interest, and people are really excited to get out there, at least for the next one. So hopefully this is something we can actually do on a recurring basis with the likes of Qatar, but also work with other tourism boards as well. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be tourism boards. I mean, there's another hospitality brand called Canyon Ranch, which has a handful of beautiful wellness hotel locations across the states, and we're partnering up with them, similar model, bringing some of our content creators to the hotel. They'll create content, and then there will be a debut of Canyon Ranch on the Explorest app.
So this whole game is about users, right? It's about getting as many users as possible. I know you've already built it up in a phenomenal way, and you've got tens of thousands of users. And what I would love to see is, like, how do you then take that where you can build it up to millions of users? Because as you grow the app now, you've done a few things amazingly well. Normally, when I see an app, especially when it's a consumer-focused app, I'm terrified the user experience is not going to be well, because it's so hard to build one. Like, you're inventing something brand new. It's never been there before. Who the hell even knows what the user experience looks like? And especially when it's the first one that's going to come through, and it's coming through from another country. But it was beautiful. The user experience was gorgeous. Like, it was built incredibly well. Just before I go to traction, what do you credit that to?
The growth?
The user experience.
Oh, the user experience.
Building such a good user experience. Like, who drove that engine? Because you don't get that just by taking a bunch of folks over in Vietnam and saying, "Hey,
right.
build us a nice app with some good pictures."
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I will give my co-founding team a lot of credit. My business partner Michael, he is a perfectionist at heart, an artist at heart, and so he has spent a ton of time just contemplating the optimal UI. But alongside his gut feeling in our personal brainstorming, internally, we also did a ton of focus groups. So prior to the first version of even launching Explorest, we did focus groups with content creators. And so we really isolated what they found and believed to be most valuable. And we really, really designed around that. And now our lead designer is a lead designer at Pinterest. Also a photographer and content creator. We have, as an advisor, his name's Jeffrey Gerson. He was the North American community manager at Instagram for a handful of years. Wow. Super, super smart-minded when it comes to product. And so really together, our product team, it's small, but we've got some really intelligent minds behind it. And we always test with our user community. And we hear from our community on a daily basis of what they're looking for, and it gets kind of put into a roadmap, and it informs what we build next.
I love it. Talk to me about the growth. We've hit tens
Yes.
of thousands of users, which means it's real, it works, people love it. You've managed to get the creators in there and the photographers who have put beautiful content up, which means they believe in it and they love the idea of what it's all about. Take us first to 100,000 users, and what does that journey look like? And then we're going to talk about how we take that to the next level.
Sure, sure. So starting on the supply side of the platform. So, when we first started in Singapore, we just had 20 creators. Now we have over 135 across 20 different regions all over the world. And as mentioned, they are truly the top of the top when it
Yeah.
comes to content creation in each of their locales. And so given the network that we've built, it's fairly easy for us to say go to Hong Kong and say, hey, this is Explorest, here's who's on our network, is this something you'd like to participate in? And we've got such a fantastic conversion rate, if you will, of onboarding top tier creatives on our platform, because at this point, somebody knows somebody that's on the platform. So we've really kind of clinched this really well curated, prestigious group of content creators on our platform, which allows us to open doors to new ones quite easily. And we actually have a wait list of over 1,000 other content creators who want to contribute onto the platform. And we'll be fundraising to support that demand. But supply side is really kind of snowballing itself. Now on the demand side, when we launch a new destination, so say when we launch California or Oregon or Washington, our local content creators would announce on Instagram, hey, I've shared my favorite places to take photos or to experience in this state. Check it out on the Explorest app. That has driven a ton of growth. So influencer marketing has been very successful for us. Alongside that, on the paid marketing side, we generate an install for less than $1 on average.
Wow.
So all we do is we share a beautiful image. We've got some creative copy that it kind of invites commentary and discussion on the ad, and boom, we are converting consistently under $1, no matter where we're serving the ad in the world. So that's been super, super helpful. And then in addition to that, on the organic side, when a user is playing around with the app, when they're traveling to these different destinations, they're oftentimes with friends. When you're traveling, more times than not, you're doing it with somebody else. So we're seeing a bunch of benefit there. When somebody's posting a picture on the Explorest app that they've taken at one of our locations, or if they're tagging us on Instagram, we're getting a bunch of organic traffic from that as well. So when we feature an image that somebody took at one of the locations on Instagram, they're typically resharing it. So lots of great growth in that regard too. And I think the final point is SEO. So recently, in the last about 3 or 4 months ago, we published all of our location insights that we have on the app onto the web. And so that's now starting to get indexed by Google, and it's really driving some awesome organic traffic to our website, which we're subsequently converting to the mobile app.
And where does that take us? Does that take us to 100,000 users by the end of the year, or further out?
Yeah, absolutely. That we should blow past that by the end of the year, especially with the growth that we're seeing from the SEO.
I love that. And then what do you think are going to be the biggest drivers of growth to get you to 1 million users? Is it going to be pay to play?
No, that's going to be effective because as I shared, we're very efficient in the cost per install and getting an active user inside of our ecosystem. So it's great that we have that lever of paid advertising that can really make a big difference. But really, what we think is going to catalyze the growth is adding a social layer to the product. So right now, when you go into Explorest, it's essentially a one-way guidebook. You have this beautiful feed of imagery, you tap the image, you get all this information, and you go to the place, and we're not at the moment doing much of anything to get you back into the app to talk about it, to discuss it, share about your experience, etc. Similarly, you can't, if you're not one of our 135 content creators, you're unable to submit locations onto the app.
Yeah.
So we believe introducing a way for our user community to submit their own favorite locations is going to be a huge driver of retention. And it also solves the number one ask and pain point for our existing community is we want more locations. We want more locations. So opening it up to somebody like yourself, Brian, will help us scale much more quickly. And so that's truly where the big user growth flywheel is. But then secondarily to that, we want to add event or transaction-based push notifications. So if you were to submit a location on Explorest and I see it and I like it, or if I have a question and I comment on it or something like this, you're going to get a push notification seeing that I engaged with your contribution, bringing you back to the app, giving you validation, and I even get more use out of the product by engaging with you directly. And so it just keeps bringing the existing user base back into the app, and really deepening that loyal relationship that we have with our global community.
Great call. And I'm going to layer one on top that we've talked about as well. I think these cities are going to be huge. And
Right.
you know what I love more? So here's what I love more than SEO, or what I love more than paid advertising, is OPP. And you don't know that term because I just made it up a second ago because it just happened to be the first three letters of what I was saying. Other people paying, right? So I see cities like Qatar coming out everywhere, whereby you can say to these cities, look, guys, this is not about you paying us money. We don't want money. This is about you being able to promote your city in its most beautiful form. So here's the deal. If you want to give us money and you want us to bring in photographers in to do it and you want us to promote it on our platform, we'll do that. But if you don't want to give us money and you just say, hey, you know what, we have 1 million people on our mailing list in Santa Monica, don't worry about giving us money. There's probably some photographers in the local area. You mail those 1 million people, you send them over to Explorest. We will then use that as the promotion that we would normally pay for ourselves. And then we'd bring a photographer in that maybe you pay $5,000 or we pay $5,000, but just chump change, right? But the actual users that will be brought to the platform will be paid by the cities, and the cities are not paying a dime for it because they're already on lists that they have. And they're saying to those lists, we want you to appreciate and to love our city with the photographs that we are going to put on Explorest, and it will link them directly to where those photographs are. And that way, you can hit millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people for nothing but time. No money whatsoever, because they're going to love your pictures. The key to everything you do is that they are beautiful. I don't know, Vincent, my producer here, I will bet you he's now looking through Explorers, because every creative and artistic person in the world, which is everybody, some are more obvious in their own minds about it, but it's everybody. We love seeing beautiful images of places that make us feel differently to the mundane drudgery of our normal days. And that's what you do for folks. So there are multiple layers to build this up. We have the cities, we have the SEO, we have the push notifications. We also have the building the users through referrals and actually getting them themselves. And we have the paid advertising if we need to go down that road as well. There's no doubt in my mind this thing's going to hit 1 million users. I would like to try and get it to 1 million users by the end of next year. I know that's a bit of a push, but I think we can get there. If we push hard enough with the cities and we can get these guys on board, then why the hell not?
Absolutely, Brian. The distribution from the venues or the tourism boards, as you mentioned, like with Qatar or otherwise, will be huge. And we know that this is something that they're responding to. So, for example, we've carved out actually a paid ad budget. Qatar is giving us a big paid ad budget to distribute the Explorest experience as it relates to Qatar and Doha to be served globally. And so this is something that the tourism boards are seeing as a great way to get people to rediscover, whether you're local or somebody who's even booking a trip internationally, their country.
And it's so easy to market. Once you get a decent sales guy in place who's dedicated to doing this, or gal, so beautiful. Like you go to Santa Monica and you go, hey, Santa Monica, these are LA's pictures. You always thought you were better than LA, right? You did, right? We all know that, right? These are LA's pictures. They're beautiful. Look at this. Look at the nice shiny pictures. Look at the photographers who are taking them. These are Santa Monica's pictures. Looks kind of shitty, right? Because there's nothing there except a couple of people who are sitting in the background. Don't you want to show yourself in its best possible light? And by the way, it doesn't have to cost you any money. Have a meeting with us. So for any investors listening, I always look for the path of least resistance. I don't want to fight. I'm too old to fight people all the time and go through digital disruption where like 20 people are going to have to like hate us because we're breaking down what they do. I love innovation without friction. And that's what this is. Every single person at the party wants this to be successful. The consumers want to be able to, but I mean, look, if my wife's photos, maybe, okay, I'm not going to get in the club yet, but I know I can get in the future. But my wife, I think she could get in the club. She's got great photos. If she could put all of her photos for all of the places that she goes to and the things she does in the Explorest app, and then it's being used for two things. Number one, it's being used to actually showcase those gorgeous areas. But number two, she's showcasing her gorgeous photography. Some of which will be tagged into areas and other of which they won't be necessarily tagged in. It might be just photographs of a beautiful place that she saw, but it's not necessarily tagged in with that place straight away. And that's when it gets great. This is the place that awesome photographers who love exploring and adventure in cities, this is where you keep your photographs.
Yep. All well said, Brian.
Dude, I got this place, I got this locked down. I worked out, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get to know something. But I love this. I really do. Like, I get it in this because it's just so simple. It's so straightforward. It's so necessary. The time is right on it. The founders are really good. The team have built a beautiful app. Where it's going in the future, you haven't even touched the stuff that you know is going to blow this thing up. This is right now just about money. Now, before we get to money and we work out like how much we need to invest and what it's going to be spent on, I love touching the hero's journey a little bit within entrepreneurship. And we know, look, anybody who starts off a company is crazy, just in general. I can really finish it there and everybody will be like, yeah, I know, especially founders themselves. And I include myself in that because I must be mad as well. But we love what we do, right? We're mad and all of the logical reasons for us not doing this, we obviously ignore. But the emotional reasons, we kick everybody's ass because we live more in a day than the other folks do in a year. Anyway, so during that journey and that great entrepreneur's hero journey that you've gone through, I want you to tell me about something where it just punched you in the face. It was a Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they got punched in the face moment. And it just hurt you really badly. And I want to talk about like what happened and how you reacted to it. The outcome of the story isn't as important as actually just showcasing some of the journey is. And then on the other side of it, I want to talk about something incredible that happened to you that just maybe it came out of left field, maybe you made it happen, maybe you traveled there to see someone, but it was someone who came into your journey. It could be your co-founder, hell, it could be a girlfriend, a friend, anybody at all. But they came into your journey and they did something which was a huge turning point. But let's start with the shitty stuff first.
Got it. So
you must, and by the way, I know you've got a load of stories because I have a load of stories. I could get 20 stories. Like I'd be like,
Sure.
okay, only one.
Yeah. Well, Brian, it's a beautiful question, and really the big Mike Tyson gut punch, I think, came when we launched in California, and we got some negative feedback from not our user community, but social media, that we were blowing up spots that people shouldn't be going to, like, don't come to this state, don't come to this city, Explorers, we don't want you here. So a bit of like, we shouldn't be showing or sharing where these places are. And so that, I remember it happening, and we didn't know or really expect this. We didn't have a mitigation strategy around that. So let me kind of color in a little bit, because mostly this is unfounded. So first and foremost, when we partner with local creatives, the first thing we share to them is do not share locations that are sensitive to human impact or overly fragile. So that's first and foremost. If they don't want to share a spot, they don't share it. Second is if it's dangerous or illegal, it has no place to be on Explorers either. And to supplement all of that, we're also partnered with Leave No Trace and the Nature Conservancy, and we do a lot in terms of spreading awareness around the Leave No Trace principles when it comes to exploring. But every so often, somebody gets an ad or hears about a creative who contributed onto Explorers and doesn't know the lengths that we as a company have went to really mitigate any of these issues. And so that's something we kind of are encountering, here and there. I think it's been really over a year since there's been any big pushback, but it is something that startled us as a small team, and we really kind of had to figure out a way to make sure our community was really educated, or those who are not part of our community could easily learn about how serious we take environmental conservation.
And-
We've even had calls with people to
and
discuss
I'm,
it.
hang on, I'm guessing that 90% of that is not because, there's a seal on the beach and we have to be fragile. Okay, I'm just guessing here because I know a lot of these people. And these are the people that went to Copenhagen when the full moon party was truly special, man. And like, there was just 5 of us on the beach and it was us and the moon. And of course, all of their mind hallucinating drugs, which they probably won't mention in that thing. But there's just us and the moon and we were looking up and it was real. And then the tourists came and like, who the hell said they could come to our island? I'm like, dude, it's not your island. Like, you're from Detroit, okay? You came first. Like, just because you came first, it does not mean that you own the experience yourself. And I'll tell you when it gets the worst. This is the really when it gets the worst is when I turn into that person, because it means that I have truly become the most selfish, egotistical person on the planet, because I have reached a space in life where I truly believe that the beauty of everything around us should not be shared with other people if it's going to muck up my experience on it. So I go the opposite way now. I feel I've matured as a traveler, and the world should see these places. Man, I feel so bad for people that haven't had a chance to go down the road and see like something beautiful. And that's kind of the whole idea behind Explorest. And what I love about it is this is not about sending somebody to Vegas so that they can see the New York hotel. This is about sending somebody to a particular tree that might be in the redwood forest, which you would never in your whole life get to see. Like, it's not for you to climb the tree. It's for you to look at this thing of beauty and say, I found my world is a better and richer place because of where I've gone through with Explorers. But you made me laugh because I lived with those people for such a long time. And even though in the moment I was right, I was obviously wrong, because the whole world needs to be able to see beautiful things. And for all of you people out there who believe that, if you're an investor, you got to check out the app. You're going to fall as in love with this thing as I did. This is sick. It's great. It's beautifully put together. They have only just begun on the journey of where this is going to go to. And just even in those humble beginnings, they've lined up like 20,000 users. For me, this is a no-brainer. I see it as a massive breakthrough for many, many different levels. But also, number 2, look, if you're just listening to the podcast and you're thinking, this sounds really cool, it is really cool. Download the app, share it with your friends, and find some of the really cool spots that the traveling snobs don't want you to go to, and just go there because they're awesome. That's why they don't want you to go. Okay, so no, I love it, man. I love it. That's tough, right? Because you're caught in the conflict but you made the right decision. I love it, and I know the lens you go to and all of the other stuff. I think it's really important. But you're sharing the world with everybody, and you're sharing it in a way which is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And then so take us to the other side. Then so. And I know you've got like a million stories about, nights with ramen and morning with ramen.
Love ramen. Love ramen.
While living in your car. But then take us to like a story of something epic that happened on the journey. And it can even be on the journey down or on the journey at the beginning or wherever else. But something which just regained your hope in the human spirit.
Sure. Well, just to quickly close off on the other sharing, I mean, we're totally with you, Brian. At the end of the day, at our core, we believe the world should be able to instantly discover beautiful places. We do always apply that lens of, environmental fragile and sensitivity, and also the safety. But all things considered, we really believe people should have access to this information. The content creators are the ones, it's their full-time job to explore. But some people only get 15 days time off a year, right? 15, 20 days or so. And giving them that instant access to insights of where these places are, I think is really game-changing in terms of offering them a new life experience.
By the way, I need to stick here for a second. I love traveling, and I love places, and I love things of beauty. And I think one of my most memorable, and I've been blessed in life, I really have. Like, you live in Russia or St. Petersburg, you're made. There's not enough photos that you can take of that place. Or you go to China, and I was in the Forbidden City, and it's like, oh, are you kidding me right now that I get to see all of these places? But I think my most memorable experience ever was Machu Picchu. And I did the trail, and I did it with my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. And we took the, we didn't really know how hard the trail was going to be to like climb up there, because a lot of folks take a bus around there, but I'm kind of like from pure of heart. And they're like, do you want to do the 2-day or the 4-day? And I'm like, because I was with her and she didn't really travel that much, I'm like, we'll do the 2-day. But I didn't realize it was the same trip. You just had to go straight up the hill rather than go around the hill. But anyway, it was just amazing. And I arrived there that morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning, where at the time the guide, because it was that whole travel Lonely Planet moment, but like we arrived there at 5 in the morning, and just as the sun's coming up and just the city of Machu Picchu is right there in front of you, and it comes out and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I just want to reinforce what you're saying about this is it's all about the photos. It's about the experiences. It's this, I don't remember what people said to me around that moment. I don't remember like the area or how low it was or anything else. I just remember what that image and what that vision looked like. So when you're looking to travel and you're looking to go and explore and see these incredible places that may be no more than 15, 20 minutes away from your front door, you have to find these through pictures. You can't find them through the written word. Go in, look in Explorest, find pictures. And if you find that actually there's not a place around you that there should be, then you want to write into the team at Explorest and say, somebody has to take a picture of this place, or maybe even take it yourself and send it into the guys so they can share. Am I wrong?
Perfect. No, spot on.
Yeah. Okay. Take me to the thing of beauty. Take me to a beautiful thing that happened.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, we've had a lot of great, exciting moments along the way. I think, seeing how efficient we are on paid advertising on iOS and on Android is almost unheard of. So that was just really awesome. We've also been a really big kind of PR favorite. So we've been published. I had a great interview actually with Forbes. I've been on Fox 5 New York television.
That's
I'm
cool.
talking about Explorers. Yeah, so we've gotten some like really great recognition. And then I think just seeing our community get to these different locations and take their own creative perspective at each spot has just been so beautiful. And when they just organically share about it on the internet, yeah, it makes us all feel warm inside, and we know we're doing something beautiful and that's helpful and useful. And we're just excited to raise so we can scale up the product to be even more essential and help people really reconnect with the world around them, which is now so important because a lot of us have been stuck inside over the last year because of the pandemic, and parts of the world are just starting to get stuck inside now.
This is going to be great. And you're coming in the cohort in about a week's time. I know our head of investment, like she literally goes every single week to a different walk, hike, run, jog to another place. She's going to absolutely love this. How much are you going to look to raise, and what type of terms are you looking at? Just, you can be as vague or as general as you like, but just give a little bit of a feel so that the folks listening know what stage you're at.
Sure. So we are raising a $2 million seed round at a $9 million pre-money valuation. And the big idea here is we want to scale our content so we can launch new destinations. For example, if you're in Tennessee right now, we have no locations in Tennessee. So unless you're going to be taking like a 6 to 8 hour drive or flying on a plane, there's really not much you can be doing in the product. So the more locations that we have around the world, we just unlock these local markets. So that's essential to meet up the pent-up demand. And then second to that will be building out the product to add that community social layer that I referenced before, which includes the user location contributions, but also a way for people to chat with each other and to share their own perspectives and opinions about locations that we do feature. We want to build out more creator monetization tools because, at the end of the day, we do have we're contributing in a significant way to the creator economy, and we want to do that through our product. And then lastly, building out our web app. So SEO has been so effective, but the web experience is still at its nascent stage. Evolving that will really increase our conversion potential in a big way.
Beautiful. And then just finishes that. I think we've had a couple of really nice moments on this podcast, but just I want to obviously share your email address so people can contact you. Any investors who are listening here, like it's obviously not a secret that I like this one, and I think these guys are going to do great. You can all reach out to me anytime at brian@expertdojo.com. I'm always happy to chat. But just finish us out with your email details so they can contact you and your vision of where you see Explorest in 5 years' time. You're now
Sure.
talking about Explorest like it's in the present, it's 5 years in the future, and you're talking about what you've achieved over the previous 5 years. But let them have your contact details first.
Sure. Contact details, Justin@explorest.com. That's JUSTIN at EXPLOREST.com. Yeah, would love to hear from you. Even if you're a user, would love to hear about your app experience. Feel free to get in touch. So in terms of our vision, we want to be the experts of place, especially now when people are yearning to explore, and that's only going to increase over the next 5 years. So today we've done a fantastic job partnering with photographers to recommend beautiful places to photograph. But we know our platform is really well positioned if we were to work with foodies to recommend the greatest places to eat and drink, fashion icons to recommend the greatest places to shop, hotel connoisseurs to recommend the greatest places to stay. Essentially, every place expertly curated. You open Explorest, you can immediately tap into reliable information on how to have great experiences, whether it's nearby or once you get off of a plane.
Like I said, when Instagram grows up, this is what it wants to be. And we'll finish it right there. Justin, thanks, man. Thanks for allowing us to be on the journey with you. Couldn't be happier that we've invested in you guys. We're going to invest a ton more money into it. And other investors, take note, and you got Justin's detail to reach out directly.